Have you ever felt paralyzed by fear or hesitation, just waiting on the perfect time to make a move? You wait for everything to line up only to watch life pass you by. But guess what? The Bible has some powerful advice for moments just like these. And in this video, we'll talk about how to take action even when life feels uncertain. We'll learn how to stop waiting for perfect conditions and start living fully in the here and now. You can make progress today. I'll be honest, I've been there myself, waiting for everything to line up, waiting for that perfect moment to make a big change in my life, waiting for the perfect moment to start a new habit or to take on a new challenge, or even just to take a step in faith in an area in my life. But guess what? I've learned that the perfect moment almost never comes. And we often end up putting things off because we're waiting for life to be just right. But what if I told you that there was a better way? I know many of you can relate. You probably felt that hesitation too. Maybe you wanted to take a leap in your career or start a new project or take that relationship to the next level. But life is full of uncertainties. Am I right about it? You see the clouds, you see the storms ahead, and you wonder, what if this doesn't work out? And so you wait and you wait and you wait. But here's the thing. There's always going to be a storm in one form or another. And so you can wait all your life. But what if instead of waiting for everything to be perfect, you could thrive in the midst of uncertainty? And so I'm going to read to you a passage from Ecclesiastes chapter 11, and starting in verse 1, it says, "Send your grain across the seas, and in time profits will flow back to you. But divide your investments among many places, for you do not know what risks might lie ahead. When the clouds are heavy, the rains come down. Whether a tree falls north or south, it stays where it falls. Farmers who wait for perfect weather never plant. If they watch every cloud, they never harvest. Just as you cannot understand the path of the wind or the mystery of a tiny baby growing in its mother's womb, so you cannot understand the activity of God who does all things. Plant your seeds in the morning and keep busy all afternoon, for you do not know if profit will come from one activity or another, or maybe both." Now, this passage in Ecclesiastes, this passage is about finances. It's about investing. It's about diligence and perseverance. It's about risk taking. It's about diversification. It's about all these things. And people mainly you look at this passage as what to do with your finances and investing and things like that. And it's all of that. It tells you how to invest, how to manage your finances, and all of that. But this passage also extends beyond finance and commerce. It applies to every area of your life. And so this passage challenges us to live boldly and wisely in daily life. And that's with balancing your faith and practical action. And so the principles of risk-taking and diversification and diligence and resilience are all in this passage that I just read to you. But risk-taking and diversification and diligence and all that, the principles are just as relevant in your personal decisions. They're just as relevant in your relationships, and they're just as relevant in your objectives than they are in anything else. And so I want to give you some key applications that this passage can apply to in your personal life. And so the first way that this passage applies to your personal life is stepping out on faith and taking personal risk. It tells us that in the first verse, it says, "Send your grain across the seas, and in time, profits will flow back to you." What this is telling us is that people want to see profits. They want to see profits flow back to them. But in order to see a profit flow back to you, you have to send out your grain across the seas. Now, again, this is a more of a finance term, or investing in business or investing in your finances. Is saying put it out there, put your money out there, and or it can mean, do something, do some work, put your product out there, put yourself out there, do something. Basically, it means step out and do something. And when you do, over time or in due time, profits will flow back to you. Now, how can we apply this to our personal lives? This also could be understood as an encouragement to step out of our comfort zone. It says, send your grain across the seas. In the King James version, it says, cast your bread upon the waters. And so, cast your bread, send your grain out across the seas. Just send it out, because who knows? In time, profits will flow back to you. And so, what is this telling us? Step out of your comfort zone. Step out of your comfort zone and do something good. Or step out of your comfort zone and take some opportunities, even when the outcome is not guaranteed. Just as a merchant sends out bread on the waters and they're unsure of its return, we sometimes must take leaps of faith. Whether it's starting a new career, you have to step out on faith to start a new career, or moving to a new city, or beginning a relationship. You have to step out on faith. Or if you want to help other people, sometimes you have to do these things with no immediate payoff. And that's what it says by sending your grains out across the seas. And in time, a profit may flow back to you, because you're going to do something and it's going to take time for that to come back to you. Or it may not come back to you exactly when you need it or when you want it, right? And so sometimes you have to step out of your comfort zone and take opportunities that does not necessarily profit you immediately, but in due time, a profit will come back to you. And so sometimes we have to take these leaps of faith rather than just sitting there playing it safe, hoping all things are going to work out. And so Solomon, in this passage, he urges us to stop playing it safe and just trust that our well-placed efforts will eventually yield a reward. And so that's what you got to do. And so you might be hesitant to pursue a long-held dream. You might be hesitant to start writing that book that you want to write, or going back to school, because you have a fear of failure. But you have to take the risk. You have to cast your bread out against the waters and take that risk and step out on faith and trust that God has got you. Go ahead and apply for that program. Go ahead and write that first chapter of the book, trusting that in God's timing, His providence, it will return with good results. Many people can testify that taking personal risks, whether it's in making a life change or whatever it is they're doing, a lot of people can testify that after they took that risk, after they got over the initial fear and took the risk, they can tell you that eventually that it brought growth. Eventually it brought new relationships or other blessings in their life, because in due time, it'll all flow back to you. In due time, it'll flow back to you. What? The profit. In due time, profit will flow back to you. And so don't let the fear of the unknown keep you from experiencing all the good that God wants to give you. All right. Another way to apply this passage to your life is diversify your efforts and your relationships. Now, what diversify your efforts and your relationships. It says, but divide your investments among many places, for you do not know what risk might lie ahead. And so, again, this is talking about investing. This is talking about diversifying your portfolio. That's what it's talking about. But it's also talking about diversifying your efforts in your life, diversifying the things that you do in your life, not putting all your eggs in one basket in any area of your life. And so beyond the financial investments, this principle advises us not to pin all our hopes and our identity on one single pursuit. Because in life, unexpected disasters can happen. A job can vanish. Plans can fall through. And if you put all of your eggs in the basket of your job, if you put all of your hopes and dreams in your job, when that job goes away, then you're stuck. Then you're depressed. then you feel like all hope is gone because that job is gone. And so that's why it's saying to that it is wise to invest yourself in a balanced way. And so this means cultivating multiple facets of your life. This means cultivating and developing your family. This means developing friendships. This means developing personal hobbies or getting involved in the community. It means things like that. And so you won't just obsess on one thing. Because again, you can obsess over that job, but anything can happen with that job. They can fire you. If you have a business, you can obsess over that business, but you can go out of business. And so this is saying that you got other things in your life that you can invest yourself in. Your family, your friendships, your relationships, hobbies, all those type of things that you can invest your life in so that you won't get narrow-minded and just obsess over one thing in your life. Because if one area of your life suffers a setback, then if you invest in all these other areas, you have other things that can give you purpose and support. You see, a lot of people, they invest their life all in one thing. And if they lose that one thing, then now they don't have purpose because they put all of their purpose, or they believe that all their purpose comes from that one thing. And so that is the danger of obsessing over one thing. That is the danger of putting your identity in your job. That's not, you cannot put your identity in your job because again, your job can be taken away. You can get laid off. You can get fired. The place can go out of business. Your job can be taken away in the blink of an eye, in the snap of a finger. Your job can be taken away. And if your identity is your job, then you're going to be in a world of trouble if something happens with that job. And so in essence, don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's what this is saying. And so this broad-hearted approach protects you from total loss. It protects you from total loss. Don't put all of your don't put your identity in your money, because again, you can lose your money. You can lose your nest egg. And if you lose your nest egg and all of your identity is in your money, then you feel like you lost it all. That's why some people who either lose their job or lose some money or whatever, they say, I lost it all. But if you got family, if you got relationships, if you got a spouse, if you got your kids, if you got your health, if you got friendships, you didn't lose it all. You might have lost some money. You might have lost a job, but you did not lose it all. But the only way to have that testimony is to invest yourself in other areas of your life, is to make sure that you take care of your family and not alienate yourself from your family, from your spouse and your kids. And so don't put all your eggs in one basket, because again, those things can be taken away. So you got to understand, when you have this balanced approach that this scripture is trying to tell us, then it multiplies and you have a better chances of positive outcomes. And so some of your efforts will succeed. Like when it says cast your bread across the waters, some of your efforts will succeed and some of them will bring a good return. And then others will be fruitless. Others will be unproductive, ineffective, unsuccessful. And so that's just the way it is. That's why you got to diversify, because some things are not going to work out. But we do what we can, and then we trust in God for whatever success that he wants to give us. And so in other words, do your best across several activities and leave the results to God. Because when your life is well-rounded, then you are more resilient against the uncertainties of life. When something happens, it won't take you out because you are well-rounded. All right. The next way to apply this passage to your life is don't procrastinate, seize the day. Now, it says that farmers who wait for the perfect weather, they never plant. And if they watch every cloud, they never harvest. And so don't procrastinate, because the farmer who waits for the perfect weather, they never sow the seed. They never plant because they're waiting for the perfect weather. They looking at every cloud and watching, is it going to rain? Is it going to storm? And they never plant. And guess what? If you never plant, you never harvest. If you never sow anything, you never reap. If you never put out anything, you never get anything back. And so this is a warning against being overly cautious, because this speaks loudly to your personal choices. Don't be overly cautious in your life. If you wait for the perfect time, if you wait for the perfect situation to act, you may never do anything at all, because life's conditions will never be ideal. We will always face uncertainties. There's always going to be winds. There's always going to be dark clouds. And so you have to manage. You have to manage, and you have to do it anyway. So the message here is stop waiting and start doing. Start doing what? Whatever is important to you. You see, some couples are postponing having children because they're waiting for to feel completely ready. I got news for you. You're never going to feel completely ready. There's never a perfect time to have kids. You may never have enough money. You may never have enough. There's no such thing as having enough energy. Now, obviously, you want to have kids when you're young, when you have the most energy, but you're never going to have enough energy to have kids. You're never going to have enough patience. And if you're putting off kids, waiting for the perfect timing, you might as well just have the kids. Go ahead and have the kids. You ain't going to never have enough money, because the kids are expensive, and they're always going to be expensive. And so it don't matter whether you got a little money or a lot of money. Go ahead and have them kids. Now, obviously, if you ain't got no money, then no money at all, then maybe you probably don't need to have no kids. But I'm just saying, go ahead and have the kids. There's never going to be a perfect time to have those kids. And so that's if you want kids. Because I understand everybody don't want kids. But there are people who want kids, but they're trying to wait for the perfect time, trying to line it all up. Just have the kids. Because at some point, you just got to take the chance. At some point, you just got to jump in. And because you can't wait forever to have kids, because there's a certain, like women said, their biological clock is ticking. Whatever that means, you can't wait forever to have kids, because you ain't Sarah and Abraham. So you got to have kids when you young enough to have kids. And so don't delay doing something that you know you want to do. And likewise, don't delay telling your loved ones that you love them. Stop putting off the effort of things that you know you want to do. Stop putting off the effort to do a personal project that you've been dreaming about. Because if we wait until we're less busy, until we feel right, until just the right moment, we will never see results. And so it's carpe diem. Carpe diem. Carpe diem means seize the day. That's exactly what this is telling us. Seize the day. Be diligent. And being diligent means doing what needs to be done right now. It says, plant your seed in the morning and keep busy all afternoon, for you do not know if profit will come from one activity or another, or both. And so be diligent. Do what needs to be done rather than just endlessly putting it off. How many people intend to write a book? How many people want to start exercising? How many people want to learn a new skill? But they keep saying, I'll do it when the time is right. They keep saying that. But I guess what? I got news for you. The time is never right. And year after year after year, the perfect time never comes. And so the wisdom here is to start sowing the seeds that you want to sow right now, so that you can reap a harvest in some time. And so you got to start now, because if you never plant, you're never going to reap a harvest. So you got to do it at some point. Now, with all that said, I don't mean to do things just recklessly and foolishly. Yes, you can plan, and you can think things through, and you can have some forethought. So I'm not telling you to be foolish and impulsive. And I'm not telling you to just do things and not even think about it. Take the time, plan, do your due diligence, do your research, whatever it is you need to do. But once you've done all that, once you've planned reasonably, then just take action. Stop waiting till forever. Go ahead and take action, because you reap nothing if you never sow. And as this passage implies, it is better for you to try to risk some failure than to do nothing and guarantee unfruitfulness. Because you might fail. You might do something. You might step out on faith and you might fail. That's just life. You're going to fail sometimes. But guess what? If you never step out in faith, then you're guaranteeing that you're just a failure anyway. You're a failure before you even get started if you never do anything, if you never even try. And so you have to just try. And this mindset, it leads us to a more fulfilling life. And when we just try and do our best, then we can live a life of fewer regrets, and we can live a life of fewer missed opportunities. Because guess what? If you look back on your life and realize how many missed opportunities that you had, you're going to regret it. You're going to have resentment, and you're going to hate yourself for doing that. And so don't do that. Go ahead and take the risk. Go ahead and step out on faith. Go ahead and do what you need to do. And so underlying this passage is the acknowledgement that we don't control everything. That's basically what this passage is saying. We don't control everything. And so do what you have to do and trust God, because you don't know if profit will come from one activity or another, or maybe both. We don't know. And so because we don't know, all we can do is our best and let God do the rest. That's all we can do. Because verses 3 and 5, it reminds us that certain events are inevitable or mysterious, and they're beyond our knowledge. So a key life skill is resilience. You got to have resilience. And resilience is accepting that uncertainty and adversity is just going to come. We're going to have that anyway. And so you have to resolve to just keep moving forward in whatever you're doing. You got to resolve to keep moving forward in your life. This means when things go wrong or the outcome is unclear, don't give up. Keep putting forth the effort in your life. Because if one plan fails, adjust and try another plan. And so since the future is not ours to see, then we need to prepare what we can, but ultimately we trust God. We trust God, and we trust the process that God has puts us through. And so you got to develop some resilience. Developing resilience might involve building a support network. It might involve strengthening your faith or learning from your past failures so you can bounce back stronger. Like I said, for somebody who loses their job unexpectedly can feel like life is just over, like that's just the end of their life. You can feel like that. Or instead, this can be an opportunity to retrain. This can be an opportunity to pursue a new career path. This can be an opportunity to start sowing new seeds for a future harvest. You know, history and biographies are full of people who turned setbacks into success just by persevering. They didn't give up. Thomas Edison famously failed hundreds of times when he was trying to invent the light bulb. He failed hundreds of times. But guess what? He saw each failure as learning and not defeat. Because what if he'd have gave up? We might be in the dark. And so Thomas Edison didn't give up. He just kept going. He figured out, what he said was, he figured out all the ways to fail, all the ways that it wouldn't work. And so now he just learned the way that it works. And so that's persistence. That's all about being persistent. So plant your seed in the morning, keep busy all afternoon, for you don't know if profit will come from one activity or another, or maybe both. And so by maintaining hope and effort after a disappointment, we can position ourselves to catch the next opportunity that comes our way. I like what it said in verse 5. It says, just as you cannot understand the path of the wind or the mystery of a tiny baby growing in its mother's womb, so you cannot understand the activity of God who does all things. And so we got to trust in him. We got to trust in God. We got to trust in him and continue doing our part, because we can only do our part and let God do his part. He got his part. We just got to do our part. And so in practice, resilience is reinforced by trust. We have to trust, and we have to trust knowing that even if we cannot see the whole picture, our continued efforts are not in vain. And so when we're facing personal trials or an uncertain future, just remember that this passage is telling us to do your work anyway. and leave the rest in God's hands. Over time, you'll find that this resilient attitude leads to personal growth and amazing rewards. Because in due time, the seeds that you plant will start to bear fruit. And so, what are you going to do with this wisdom? Are you going to take action today? Don't wait for the perfect conditions. Start with what you have and take the first step. Whether it's making that phone call you need to make, or starting that new project, or simply just trying something new. Take action now. Stop waiting for life to perfectly align. Embrace the uncertainty and start sowing seeds that will lead to growth, even if you don't know exactly how it's going to turn out. Imagine what could happen in your life if you applied this mindset, if you started to act despite the uncertainties, if you start to diversify your efforts, if you start committing yourself to consistent action. Imagine what could happen. Imagine what can happen in your career, in your relationships, in your personal growth. All of that could be amazing because you stopped waiting for the perfect moment and you began living fully. What if everybody embraced this mindset? We will see more people stepping out in faith, taking bold action, living a more purposeful life. So let's get out there, sow those seeds, and trust that in due time, we'll see the fruits of our labor. And so that's what I wanted to share with you today. I pray that this message blessed you. And so if you know anybody who needs to hear this message, share it with them. Share this with them. And so thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.